Hey, welcome back to part 2 of our Tough Mom series. Mel's back, of course.
Hello.
So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to everybody who listened to part 1. You guys are so freaking amazing because it's done so extremely well. We posted it on YouTube, so if you have not actually watched the YouTube video, please run and do that. But yeah, so hi Mel.
Hey, Jen.
How's it going?
It's going. I'm so tired. My husband did yard work. We cleaned the cars. We cleaned the garage. It's been a very successful Saturday.
I know. So if you guys, obviously, we recorded the first episode on, I think it was Monday.
Monday.
And then today's Saturday, Labor Day weekend, and we basically went through the whole week and it was crazy. I don't know. I feel like it was just a fast week.
Maybe it was the blue moon that made
the blue moon, and we're still in retrograde as well.
Something.
So we're gonna say cheers to the freaking weekend.
Cheers.
We're having our red wine tonight, but we're gonna pick up on the Tough Mom series. So this one's we're gonna kind of just get a little bit deeper, and when I say deeper, it's going to our youth. We're gonna be going more toward stuff that happened to us, and ultimately it's gonna go back to our dads.
Yeah, we got to discuss the non-there fathers.
We
have to get into it.
Present, yes.
Yeah.
And that was just basically when we decided to do this Tough Mom series, is basically to go based off of us as parents, us as moms, and then also what we went through in our childhood with our dad situation. So it's going to be tough, of course, but at the same time, I feel almost too, and this is going to sound weird, but I feel ultimately the struggles that we went through as kids molded us into the parents and the moms that we are.
For sure. I don't know what kind of mom I would be if I didn't have the things happen that happened, or if I actually had a present father or a present stepfather. I probably would have turned out a lot different, which is crazy to think about. I'm where would I have lived? What kind of person would I be? I don't know. It's crazy to think.
I know. It is kind of crazy because we don't know any different. We don't know, and so I'm going to start off with Mel's story because, of course, she is my co-host. So I want her to just kind of tell us about her upbringing. And this is going to be more or less hard to talk about, I know, because my girl is going through some stuff right now in her little adventure of figuring out the dad side of her life. So I'm going to let her speak on that.
Yeah. And I feel not really going through anything, but a healing journey. So it's been a very peaceful journey.
Yeah.
I feel I'm approaching 40 and this is the most peaceful. I feel I just came out of the craziest times and this is going into the peaceful healing era. But yeah, should I start all the way back?
Yeah, wherever you feel comfortable.
Okay, so I was born in Upland, California to my mother.
Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to Mom. Dad wasn't even present. I know she had gotten she met him, ran off with him, and then got pregnant, and he was kind of okay, well, I don't really want to do this type of thing. Now you have a friend that you can hang out with type of thing. And I think those were his exact words, okay, now you have a friend that you can hang out with. So that was my kind of introduction to the world. So she gave birth by herself. Well, she had a friend there, but without him there, obviously.
Right.
Which is crazy. I couldn't imagine giving birth without my husband there.
Can you imagine Jen, I'm going into labor. Can you meet me at the hospital?
Can you just come sit with me?
I know,
that's crazy that she had to do that by herself.
But that's where me and you bonded, because it's the same thing with me.
Yeah.
My mom had a friend there. He came, but it wasn't until after I was delivered.
It's wild.
So it's very similar.
Yeah. So she gave birth to me. And then I think from the story, this is all like obviously was
We
the
were not
baby,
present, right?
but
We
this is all
weren't.
hearsay, not hearsay. This is our side of things. But I guess they like met up at a park one day, and he like held me for like a minute, and then was like, okay, well, here you go. Oh, and I think that's when he said like you have a friend to like keep you company
Oh
now, or
wow, I
some
never
crazy
knew
words
that.
like that. Yeah. I'm just like, that's so awful
Awkward,
to say.
yeah.
Like,
I know.
okay, here you go. Like, I'm
You don't need
out.
me.
Yeah, that's wild. So that happened. And yeah, it's crazy because I feel like she went through so much. She was like physically, like verbally abusive, but then physically abusive. So I think like he tried to like terminate her pregnancy himself, meaning like beat the shit out of
Right,
her
right.
and try to terminate. But here I am, like
Right?
that
Strong
didn't
as F.
work.
Strong as F.
So yeah. Anyway, so she had me met up with him at the park, and I think that's like the last time she saw him was that meetup at the park. So that's crazy. So anyway, my mom was a single mom for I think 3 years and didn't have anybody in her life. And then she met my stepdad, which is my brother's dad. And then he came into our lives, and then she got pregnant with three more kids after that. So then that like started our life. But fast forward, I remember I was like 13 years old, and they had been fighting a lot. So I knew like I felt like a divorce coming on. Like I knew it was gonna happen. And that was like traumatic in that house, like fighting, and
Oh, for
like
sure.
he would like lock us outside in summer sometimes, and like we couldn't come in just to use the restroom, just to grab something to eat. Like it was just like, and I would always want to call my mom on the phone, like, Mom, when are you gonna be home? Like
Yeah, because you
it's
didn't
because
want to be
I
there with him.
yeah. And he had like all these friends over all the time. So like that, instead of like playing with us or like going outside with us, he would just like have all of his buddies over, and that was like not a good environment for like a young
Right.
girl to like thrive in,
Yeah.
and then my brothers to thrive in. So I just remember like always wanting to be like mom around them, like take care of them and stuff, because it just didn't feel like didn't feel like a home. Like I
Right.
remember going to my grandma and grandpa's house and feeling like so safe and so
Mm-hmm.
clean, and like that was my safe place. So yeah, I kind of like wanted to assume like the mommy role for
Yeah.
my little brothers, because they were just like little. They were little guys, and um so yeah, they ended up getting a divorce when I was like 13. But before that, I had kind of noticed like a pushback with my stepdad at the time, my brother's dad, and I had told my mom like we went to like I remember it was like Vaughn's or something, and she like bought me a bag of M&Ms, and I'm sitting in the car, and I was like, why doesn't like dad? It feels like dad doesn't like love me as much as he loves my brothers.
How old do you think you were at that
I
point?
was 13. I
Oh my
remember that.
gosh.
And she was like, she started crying, and I was like, what is going on? She's like, well, I have to tell you something. Like, your dad is not your dad. And I
And
was
so
like,
for this
huh?
whole time, you had no idea that you're.
Yeah. So, yeah. So back up. I'll back up a little. Like, I wondered my birth certificate name was like different than my brother's like last name and my mom's last name and
Mm-hmm.
his last name. So I always was like, but then I thought like, oh, this is just how it is. Like the boys get this name. I don't know.
Right.
I had no clue,
Well,
but
you were a
I had
kid, though,
questioned it.
too.
Like I knew it was
Yes.
weird, but I didn't really like
You were a kid, so at
say
some point,
much.
too, it's almost like, what do you ask? You don't know the right
Yeah. I
questions
just
to
thought that
ask.
was like normal. When you
Right.
don't know, you don't know.
Right.
So she had told me, so I had said, like, I feel like dad doesn't love me like he loves my brothers.
That's so
And she's like, well,
hard.
I got to tell you something, like, he's not your dad. And I was like, oh, so he's not my dad? And I remember being like, oh, everything makes sense. Like, I don't look like him. Like, I don't act like him. I'm nothing like him.
Right.
Like, we butt heads. So, like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, wait, then, like, who is my dad, So
Right.
my mom, like, I don't know if she showed me at the time, but she has, like, one picture of him that she, like, has, and that's like all I have of him.
I
It's
know
just
what
like
picture you're
one
talking
picture.
about.
It's so crazy.
Isn't that wild, too? For as long as you have been alive, you've only seen that one photo.
The one
The
photo.
one
That's it.
photo.
That's the one
And what's
photo.
crazy, too, is because he's wearing a hat.
Yeah, he has like a hat, and then he has like a polo shirt. They looked happy.
Oh,
So I love the
yes.
picture because
Yes.
that's like my mom and dad. So I love the picture. And
Right.
and I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like 84 or 85 or something like that. It's like in the 80s.
So it's like right
I'm like,
before
okay,
they
like right
actually.
before they had
Yeah.
me. Yeah. So that was like weird. I was like, okay. So I had this one picture, and I mean, that's just the high level, but you can imagine like the spiral like that I
Right.
was about to do, like 13, and then like getting into my teens and like not having that father guidance, like
I feel like at
to guide
13 years
you.
old, you're very like questionable about a lot of different things, not just about who your
Yeah.
dad is, but
Yeah.
also like your identity as like a
Oh,
small little youth and like, oh my gosh, I'm turning into this little woman, but I need
yeah.
to know more because I do remember you changed your last name.
Yeah,
For
so I was
so long,
like,
I knew
yeah, I
you
went
was
back
one.
to that name because I was like, well, I don't want like my stepdad's last name. So it went from that last name to my maiden, or my mom's maiden name, I should say.
Right.
And so that's because that was what was on my birth certificate. And I always thought, like, did he not try to find me because my name is different than his, or but he should have known my mom's name, but maybe he
Right.
didn't know her last name. Like, I really have no idea. All I really have is like a picture and the name. But it's funny, like that's so spiral, like I'm, you know, a
Your
teenager,
teens.
like looking for love in all the wrong places, didn't love myself, like the
Yes.
flood of things that come with not having a
Right.
father around. But like, yeah,
Who
so
are you? And
yeah, so I decided that I wanted to do 20, or not 23 me, ancestry.
yes.
So I did ancestry and I was like, oh, this is going to be crazy because like if any of my family on that side, like it's going to link up. So sure enough, I did ancestry and I was able to find some cousins. I
Mhm.
found some cousins, and I chatted with some of them, and like I feel kind of give me like a little limited like info, and from
Mhm.
what I heard, like he's not the best guy still. So it's kind of like I wanted to meet him my whole life. And I'm like, always my prayer would be like, maybe he's changed. Like, maybe he's like a good guy now. And like, I always had like super high hopes for this man that,
Right.
I mean, my mom's perspective of him is like a little different, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm like, maybe he's changed. Maybe he's
So
like
do
a
you
good guy
know, like, did
now.
he stay in the same area as where you were born, or do you know if he like
No,
left?
no, I think he dipped back to North or South Carolina. I think he's there. If
Okay.
I could guess right. I
Right.
don't know because like
Because
the
that would
people that
always be like something I know that me and you talked about was like, you have no idea. Yes, you have one photo of him, but you
yeah.
never know if you're passing him on the street.
Oh my gosh, that's something that drives me nuts. If there's like an older man who fits the description, I think right now he would be like in his 70s, maybe early 70s, something
60s,
like that.
70s. Yeah.
High 60s, early 70s, but I always would pass people and I'd be like, okay, we have the same nose, like we have the same jaw, like okay,
Maybe that's my
maybe
dad.
we have the same head. It looks like we could look like we could be related. So I would always, and I still do that sometimes.
Yes, I know
And
you
I'll like
do.
now that the internet and like Facebook and Instagram, like if I'm have extra time, which I never do, like I'll go on and be like, okay, I'll look him up or
Yes.
like look up his brothers or whatever.
Well,
And
and
it's
I
crazy.
I think that's crazy because there are sometimes that she'll like
Yeah,
find like an
screenshot.
association with her, and then she'll be like, Jen, I think this is my dad. And I feel so bad because I'm sure it's like nerve wracking to be like, if it is,
Yeah,
what do I say? Do I reach out to him? Does he reach out to me? So I can only imagine not knowing like what he looks like today. Like you've never
yeah,
ever
it's
seen an
crazy.
updated photo of him
No,
except for that one image, and
yeah.
I could see that image in my head. Like
And it's
I've seen
crazy
it so many
because like
times.
I've like surpassed the age that they took that picture at. So it's
Oh, yeah.
crazy like what, however many years ago, I don't know, over like 13 years ago. I was like, "Oh, okay, so he was like I'm his age now, So it was
Yeah.
crazy, but now he still looks young to me.
Yeah,
So I can't
yeah.
even picture an old man because I have one picture. So
Well, does he have other kids? Do you know that?
so yeah, that's a thing. I guess I had an older brother named Mike. I have a lot of Mikes in
Yeah,
my
I
life, but
know.
I guess I had an older brother named Mike, Mikey, Michael, something
So, but
like
that's
that.
kind of crazy because so then Mike comes first and then you come in. So it's almost like where do you fit into like his
I know how.
story?
So I guess I have three older sisters.
Oh my
And then I
gosh.
have a brother named Mike, but he passed away from brain cancer, I
Oh, I'm
guess.
so,
And then I have like nine brothers and sisters,
oh,
something like that. I think I was like the 10th on that side, or something like that, something
so are
crazy.
you the
So there's a
baby?
lot of us. No, I'm like right in the middle. And then
Okay.
he, like, I guess with his current wife, I don't know if
So
they're
maybe it
still
was like
together, but
he
she
had
has
like a
like,
first wife, then it came your mom, and then the second or the
well, I think
third.
it was the three girls had one mom, and then like the guy
Mike
had
had
another
mom.
mom, and then it was my mom, and then now his current one, he has like all these kids.
Right.
So it's like crazy. Like there's a lot of kids. So I think
Yes.
he was just like popping them out. But it's crazy because from the stories I hear, like he was active in the military, like came from a military family. So I guess he like left the military, didn't like get discharged, but like
Oh, he
left and
left.
went AWOL.
AWOL, yeah.
And I know he was like a pilot in the military, in the army, I believe, something like that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know details, but yeah, I guess he like used to fly all the time, so it's pretty cool.
Right,
And I guess
yeah.
like my sister and brothers like are like softball, like super
But do
talented in
you
softball,
know, like,
baseball.
do they talk to him? The other children? Or
I
have you
don't know.
not? They like,
I haven't met them yet. I mean, I'd love to meet them. I just don't know any info. And
yeah,
I do have a cousin that I talk to a little bit, but like I know that he's kind of told me like just, you have a beautiful family, just kind of like keep to yourself,
which is so
which is cool
crazy.
because like I know
He's
he's even
sheltering
trying to
you,
protect me for
sheltering
what
you.
this like man is. I don't know if he's like aggressive or like whatever the case may be, but yeah, so I think he's kind of like, yeah, just do your thing. Like, just, you're in a good spot. You don't want all that.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. But yeah, deep down, I'm like, okay, well, who is this person? Like,
Yes.
so who knows? I'm just like, can you let me know if he passes away just so I know? Like,
Right. So you
so
can stop looking for him. Do you
yeah.
think if the opportunity arose and you got to meet your brothers and sisters or him, do you think you would?
I think I would meet my brothers and sisters. I really don't like have anything to say to him. I really don't like, he's
Yeah.
a stranger at this point. I'm doing just fine, like by myself. I've had
Would you want to hear his side of it,
I
like his
would. Like, I want to
version?
sit down. I would sit down probably once and be like, okay, I want to hear your side of the story. But like, I really wouldn't have a relationship with him. For so
Too
long,
many
I
years have
did
gone
think,
gone
yeah,
by. But you would want at least some sort of like, give me your version. Why weren't you present?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure. I mean, I've gotten one side and I believe that side because that side has never left me. So I feel
right.
like I would want to know, like, okay, like I want to hear your version. Like I have questions, obviously, type of thing, but I don't feel like for a long time I felt like we were gonna have a relationship. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like maybe he's a changed guy and like we can like rekindle when I'm older and like have like this really good, relationship. But I don't know.
Right.
I'm kind of that ship has kind of sailed. Like
Yeah.
seeing my husband be a dad, I'm like, how
How could
he's almost
you
like healed like a something in me that I don't really have the
long
need to
for?
like look for him. Like I go on my tangents every once in a while. I'm like, I think I found him. But
Yes.
I think like seeing my husband be such a good dad, I'm just like, this is all I need. Like
Yeah.
I've built a little family. Like I
Right.
don't need to research and like find my family. But yeah, I'd love to meet my sisters and brothers because like I would have a relationship with them. They're my
Yeah.
sister and brothers. Like
And
that would
that'd
be
be so
super
cool. I
cool.
think
I would
that would
love
be
that.
cool.
But yeah, him, I don't know.
I feel like
But
sometimes it's best to find out who your parents are, like for health reasons.
yeah,
Like I just
that's
kind of
always
want to
nice too.
know like what family history do you bring, what kind of illnesses, like all of those. And I know it
Yeah,
sounds weird, but like as we get older, that's important.
yeah.
But I think at this point in your life, he is older, you're older. It's almost like, would you even be able to have a relationship with him?
I know.
It's, and then what would that do with your relationship with your mom? Because for so long,
Yeah.
she's sheltered you from him.
Yeah, from
There's
that.
a reason
And I really
why.
don't think he's like a good dude, so I
No.
really don't feel like I don't know.
Especially if your cousin is telling you to like
Yeah.
stay
So I'm just kind of like
away.
that's cool. Like I would love to have a dad, but I don't really like it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen, which is totally cool for me. But
And even
I
if you
always
got to meet him
say,
just that one time, hi,
yeah.
this is what I look like now, that's what you look like, then you get that image in your head. Or even
Yeah.
if your family member showed you a picture, I think that would be like a chapter
Yeah,
closed
if
and
I
like
had a
move
couple
on.
pictures, that would kind of be cool. Or like knew what my siblings' names were, like what they look like, or so I have people.
Can you
I don't know,
imagine for
probably
so long? I have to say this, sorry to cut you off,
no.
but I always felt like because me and you had met each other at such a young age, I always felt like your sister, but not blood related. But I
Yeah.
always felt like her mom used to scold me like I was her child as well.
Yeah, that's
Like if
funny.
Mel got yelled at, I got yelled at as well.
Yeah,
And so I always felt like this connection to your family as if that was like literally an extended family of mine.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I am brown, with dark hair.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine meeting somebody who looks something like you? Like a
I know.
sister, like
It's
a sister.
crazy. It's so crazy.
That would
Well,
be,
that's what I was gonna say is like people keep popping up on my ancestry and it's like getting closer. It's like this is your second cousin, this is your first cousin, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's so crazy because like I don't know what to say. I reach out to all of them, but I'm just like, I'm here, hi, like in case you didn't
yes,
know about me. But I always say, and maybe this could transition, but like I don't know if it's better to not know your father at
and that's
all than to
mine.
know your father and just like have them be there, but they're not there.
Yeah.
That's how your situation is.
Yes.
So now you
Yeah.
pass the mic.
That
You could
is
tell us your
definitely, and I think that's
situation.
why me and Mel have bonded in a different way, is because we definitely have the same scenario where our biological fathers are not present. And like I said, we've grown up together. So we always asked each other, I don't know which one's worse. For
Yeah.
her to not know who her dad is, literally walking down the street and being like, this person could be my dad, versus me who knows who my father is, my
Yeah.
biological father, and not having a relationship.
I think that's worse.
It kind of is.
Because they're
It's
there
hard.
and you see what they look like and you know that they're there. He's literally what, like in LA, like an
Yeah,
hour
he's an
away,
hour away.
and you like never see him and you guys just don't talk. And I feel like that's worse because he's literally right there and
Yes.
no, yeah, I don't know. What do you think is worse?
I have to say it becomes frustrating from my side as the child. And I get sometimes, people are like, well, you could pick up the phone and you can call me. But in my eyes, and, if people out there who have the same similar situations to mine, please enlighten me. But for me personally, in my head, psychologically, I am the child and he is the father. You should try your absolute hardest to reach out to your child, regardless of age,
Yeah,
regardless of the situation. You know I'm alive, you're alive. Pick up the phone and, like, child, why haven't I heard from you? Are you okay? What's going on? What's new? What's popping? Like, tell me about your life. And now that I have a kid, it makes it that much more like, why don't you want to know not only me, but your grandchild?
for
And I'm
sure.
not going to discredit him though either, because he does show up here and there, but it's never consistent,
But you got to take us back to the beginning. Like
So,
your mom
yes,
met him and they
they're
like
best
went,
friends. They
yeah.
were I always say a twin flame, and I only say that because if you really do research on what a twin flame is, it's literally almost like a soulmate kind of a thing. Your fires are both burning and they're burning for each other, but sometimes ultimately your twin flame burns out one or the other. It's almost like a bond that is so incredibly intense that then you add love to it that it's
It's
destined
just
for
like,
doom.
yeah.
And I feel like that's what it was. My mom and I can't speak on his behalf. I have heard his stories, but ultimately, just like yours, I only get one version and it's the mom's version. And
Which we believe
yes,
because they're the ones that were,
there.
present and there.
Right. And I'm not saying that his truth isn't his truth, but what I'm saying is I just feel like my mom's version makes a little bit more sense. And which was that, my mom already came with a baggage. She already had two kids from a previous relationship. My father was her, I guess, best friend, or they had like a very close relationship. They turned that friendship into a romance that literally just, I guess, did not work out. And unfortunately, when he found out that my mom was pregnant with me, it was like, no, I'm not ready for this kind of a thing, and was like, I can't do this.
I know, but like it's like, was your mom ready for another kid?
Right.
No,
I'm
but
sure not. And my mom was very young. She had my two brothers, my older brother and my older sister at a very young age. I'm sure navigating through that part because their dad already came with a situation with my mom, and my mom, I'm pretty sure, was looking for stability, for love, for that, like, I got you, we're going to become a unit, we're going to make this a better life. And again, my mom was so young, she can only make the best decisions. When she had me, she was 22 years old. Can you think back, what were we doing at
Oh
22
my
years old?
gosh. I know my mom at 23, and I'm like, that's why I'm like, I was like going out and having the
No, I
time of
was
my life. I did
not.
not have a child at home.
No,
I
and
couldn't even
mind you,
imagine.
when she had me, she already had two kids.
Oh yeah,
So
before that.
it's seriously something that, like, okay, I made this decision to have two other kids at a young age, but now I'm going to add a third. And not only a third, but with a different dad. I'm sure that already, as a young person, had a toll on her mental as well.
For sure.
Like, I got to make this work. I got to figure this out. But in retrospect, you can't force a relationship that's just not going to work, because if you are begging that the man, like, hey, love me, treat me right, do this for me, do that for me, it's not going to work. And that's ultimately what happened.
So did he just leave after that?
So my mom
Or...
and my brothers and sisters and I wasn't born yet, I was in the womb. But from what I understand, that he told them to leave.
So he kicked him out?
So from what I understand, that they had to find somewhere to live. And then when my mom was several months down the line, he was like, no, I'm so sorry, I'm making a mistake, please come back. And then my mom did, and then he did it again. And it became a point where my mom was like devastated. And they ultimately broke up. And that's why he wasn't present when I was born. And one of my mom's really good friends was there, because he didn't want to be with my mom.
That's so crazy. So I can imagine like being pregnant or having a little baby and somebody being like, okay, well,
not even just pregnant, with two other kids too.
Yeah, this isn't working out, so you're gonna have to go. Like, that's so crazy.
And I think too, when you're young, if you can think back to like a relationship you were in at 22 years old, and like the rejection, it kills you so much differently than when you are an adult. Like, I don't know, like, and I oftentimes say this, me almost being 40 years old, if me and my man were to break up, I got this. I can take care of myself. I could take care of my daughter. And I don't mean that because I like in a superficial way. I'm meaning it because I feel like mentally I'm more stable than I was at 22 years old. At 22, all I'm thinking about is the rejection. I'm thinking about like, you don't love me anymore? Like, what do you mean? I did this, I bought you rainbow sandals. like it sounds so stupid. But that's where your mind is at 22 years old versus when you're almost 40.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a different mentality.
It's crazy, like, having your kids now. I can't even be without my kids for like 2 days.
I know.
So it's crazy to think that like for 38 years, mine hasn't been around and yours has popped in and out. So wait, do you ever remember like going over to his house like when you were little?
Yes.
Like staying there?
Yes.
And, like...
So when I was born, obviously my mom and my biological father were not together. My mom's best friend introduced her to my stepdad. And I think I wasn't even like a year old at that point, but she went on a date with him and she was like, wow, like, he's amazing. And I love the way that he makes me feel. And my mom took a leap of faith and she, got into a relationship with my stepdad. My mom and my stepdad have been together ever since. So
how many years is that?
37 years.
Oh my gosh.
37
so
years.
Many years.
And there's a little fluff. But it's amazing because he not only took on my brothers and sisters, but he also took on me as well. And I was an infant. At that point. And I, for the longest time, thought that he was my dad. I never really knew anything different. I always thought that he was my dad.
Know that.
But again, so this is the crazy part, is because I didn't know that my biological father exists until I was like 5 or 6. And I can remember that conversation.
So you didn't see him till
I was 5 or 6.
Oh my gosh.
5 or 6, crazy. I didn't see him. And from what I heard, again, that he tells me that my mom took me away and she moved away and didn't tell him where I was at. And my mom says that we had moved away, but someone had known where we were, like almost like our phone number. And that's the thing is, even if he like knew I was there, he knew I was alive, you would have tracked me down. You would have
100%.
Somebody would have given you.
Track my kids down in another country, another state. They would not be out of my sight. So I just feel like stuff like that is not an excuse.
No, but that was his excuse, is that he thought I was in a different state and he didn't really try or whatever. And come to find out, my mom called him when I was about 5 or 6. And I remember distinctively, like we were in the kitchen and she hands me the phone and she says, "Your dad wants to talk to you." But my dad was at my house. So I was like, "My dad?" Like I
So
was so
confused.
confused because I was like, I already have a dad. And he gets on the phone and this is a voice I've never heard before. And of course, me being a 5 or 6 year old, I'm just blabbermouthing to him, telling him
La
about
la,
everything and
yeah.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, mind you, this is in the early 90s, early 90s. I'm getting on an airplane by myself. I was sitting next to a flight attendant
So crazy.
going from Northern California to Southern California to meet this man I've never met before.
That's
And
so
that was the
crazy.
very first time that I ever met my dad. My biological dad
So
was.
you like stayed with him? Was that so awkward?
That's the weird thing is I remember the conversation with him on the phone. I vaguely remember the airport, but I don't remember the visit. I cannot remember the visit at all. So I don't know what it was like. But then we ended up moving from Northern California to Southern California, which is where he lives. And I was told I had to go there every other week. And so I started going there and I was so uncomfortable. And it was because of the fact that like I was going to stay the night at this man's house that like I barely even knew.
So
So I
uncomfortable.
would beg my cousin, my boy cousin, who was like my best friend, Bub. I would beg him and be like, "Bubby, you gotta come with me. I don't want to go by myself." And if he couldn't go with me, then I had another cousin out there and I would make him stay with me just because like I did not feel comfortable.
Yeah, that's wild.
But after that, I was starting to like build a life in where at my mom's house. And so like friends would ask me to like stay the night, go to birthday parties, like all of those things. And so, because we live so far from each other, I wouldn't want to go there on the weekends because I'd be like, my friend's having a birthday party and
Yeah, I
he
mean
wouldn't
your
be able to
life's
take
there.
me.
Yeah.
So, I started making excuses. I'd be like, I don't want to go stay over there. And so, I stopped going. And after that, it was almost like because I didn't go over there, our relationship that we were trying to build kind of just dissipated and it didn't go anywhere.
That's wild.
Um,
I can't even imagine like having them there, but they're not there. Like, cause I haven't met mine, so like, but having them, but not having them is
yeah.
such a concept that I can't even understand. It's like, wait, you're there, you know where I live, you know my phone number, we can't hang out or build a relationship. It's just so
I think that's
crazy.
one of my biggest um things that are like sad to me is because like my stepdad, oh man, I had so many issues as a kid and he was always there. My stepdad, even as an adult, like it's never gone away. Um and it's sad because this man has taken me in as his own. And you would think that at some point somewhere that my biological father would be like,
No.
you know, like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
don't
do
want
this,
this.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
step in, I'm gonna be that man, just give me a call and I will be there.
Wait, because does he have kids now? He
No, well,
has
he has a son, which I have a brother.
he's younger than you,
He's
right?
younger than
So
me,
he did go on
but
and
he
have like
got
another
into a
family.
relationship with a woman who had kids from a previous relationship. And
Oh.
I think that's the most hurtful part is because she had a son and a daughter, and then they had a son together, where my mom had a son and a girl, and then they had me, and I was a daughter. And for the longest time, I could not understand why he did not accept my mom with her kids, but he accepted her with her kids.
Yeah, that's
It
have you ever asked him that? Have you
I
guys
don't
ever had the
know.
deep
We
conversation?
have. I used to like get very resentful and I would drink in my early 20s, mid 20s, and I would call him and I would like just go off on him because it wasn't until I got like to a certain point where I'm like, like what is this? Like you
Yeah.
only text me every 6 months or every 3 months or every 2 months. Like what is this? Like it's just weird to me.
Is it weird that he like has whole another family right
Oh,
now and you don't? Like
No,
you don't
I'm
go
not
over
invited
there.
to Christmas. I'm not invited to Thanksgiving. I'm not invited to like, hey, we're gonna have a party for your dad this weekend because his birthday just
I
passed.
wonder if he
I'm
thinks like
never
it's
invited. I'm never ever invited to anything.
I wonder if he thinks like, oh, it's too late. Like she, like I just don't understand how
But
like
who makes that call?
I don't
Him or
know.
his girlfriend or whatever. You know what I mean? At some
Yeah,
point, I think as a woman having a kid, I would be like, you need to try with your
one
daughter.
hundred
Just call
percent.
her and ask her if she wants to
Just
come.
invite her over.
Extend
I'll
an invite.
host. Like
Exactly.
I'd love to be in
No.
her life too. She's beautiful. She has her own little family. Like
Mm-mm.
not even that. It's so crazy to me like how
I
that
have never, the last time I think that I went over there, I think it was an Easter, and because I invited myself. I'm not going to even lie. I invited myself, and it didn't go well at all because
what happened.
just didn't go well. It
It's
didn't.
just
You know
awkward
how
because you
I
don't
am.
know that
When I
side.
don't vibe with somebody, I don't vibe with somebody, and it's very hard for me to fake the funk. And that was the situation, but that also was a very long time ago. And I think that what it was is because he has this whole nother life. Those are my cousins as well. Those are my aunts and uncles as well. But I can't get invited. Like, no one
Yeah.
wants to invite me. No one wants to invite my kid now that I have a kid.
That's so crazy. Because I would invite you every time. I'd just be like, she may not show, but like I'm gonna invite you
There's an
every
invite.
single time. Like just
Absolutely.
maybe some at one point you'll want to come.
Yeah.
Or I'd be calling you weekly on the phone to where you're so annoyed. You're like, I'm just gonna check in with you because you're calling. Like I
Yes.
know you're gonna keep calling me.
I
It
talk to
blows
my
my
mom
mind.
seriously maybe 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And there are times too where maybe we'll only talk like once a week, and at the end of the week she's like, "Why didn't you call me? What was going on? What was so
Mhm.
busy? What was this?"
Mhm.
But that's the relationship I have with my mom,
Yeah.
where it's sad because he doesn't even form a relationship. It's like,
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's worse to have because like what I don't know, and I don't even know what this man looks like, and I have no idea what he's like, and like and he's here, but he's like not here. I think that's kind of a crazier situation for sure.
yeah.
And it's so crazy too, like now that you have a daughter, like and she has a present father in her life, it's just kind of doesn't it make you feel healed a little bit? Because like I remember in my 20s, I like did not love myself. I was looking for love in the worst men because my mom went on to date after so I was like rejected by my dad, then rejected again by my stepdad because he didn't care either, still doesn't care about myself or my brothers, and same thing on to another family, which is
Mhm.
super hurtful. But it's just like I'm kind of healed, like I said, like
Yeah.
in a way, like by my kids, I'm like healed. Does that feel like like Mike's healing the inner you
I feel like it's
almost?
almost like a distraction, to be honest. And I know that's going to sound
Yeah,
weird, but it's almost like I don't have time because we have our own little
for
family.
sure.
Where before Mike came around and before I had a kid, like sometimes it would only be like when I would sit and think about it, and I would
Yeah.
be like, he hasn't even called. Like he sends me a text message on my birthday. There's no card. There's no, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's like, no
Let's go
nothing
for a
like,
walk in the park for
yeah,
free and
meet
grab
me
a
halfway.
coffee.
Like
Yeah.
I just feel like in a point that no matter what your age is that you want your parental person to make that effort. And then when they see that they're making that effort, it's almost like, okay, cool, I'm going to put an effort now too.
Yeah.
And I've always been vocal about like, if I don't like you, I don't like you. If I like you, I do. But with him, I felt like we've always had a bond, like music or like certain things that we're into. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like we can vibe. Like I distinctly remember when I would go to his house as a kid and he could tell that I was uncomfortable. He had every single Michael Jackson video, like all of
Mm.
his music videos on a VHS. And he would put it on, and I don't know what it was, but it would
Make
make
you
me
feel
feel comfortable.
better.
Like I would
Yeah.
feel like a sense of like, okay, I can be here, I can hang out, I
Yeah.
get it. So like anytime I would see Michael Jackson's music videos, or even when he died, I reached out to my biological dad and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sad. And
Mhm.
because that was like a bond
There's
that
your
me and
thing.
him.
Yeah.
But it's just weird to me.
I wonder if they think like at some point, like, you know what, it's a little too late. I'm just gonna let this one go. I'm just
I
gonna focus on my
wonder.
other kids. It's like crazy, like because my dad, of course, has like all these other kids. I'm like, oh, were you trying to make it right every time? Like, I
Right.
hope and I pray all the time that, like, by my younger brothers and sisters, that he has made it right by them.
Right.
And I hope he's not like doing the same thing to them as he did to me. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't.
like, I wonder if they think that. Like,
Well,
yeah,
it
too
makes
much
me
time has
sad
passed.
because I remember one time I got so mad at him and I was like, I bet you this guy doesn't even know what my favorite color is, doesn't know what my favorite band is, doesn't know
Yeah.
like on sad days what makes me happy. He doesn't know nothing about me. And so
Hmm.
I called him. I got liquid courage and I called him and it was in the middle of the night and I was like, "What's my favorite color?" And he was like, "I don't know." I think he said like green or something like that. And I was like,
You're
"Green is not
wrong.
my favorite color."
You're
And I
wrong.
was like, I asked him, I said, "What's so and so's kid's favorite color?" And he was able to answer it like that. And in
That's
that
so
moment,
hurtful.
I was like, okay, I'm not, I'm, they're here and I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm not as
yeah.
an important,
That's
I'm
so
not.
hurtful.
And it's hard as the kid to feel that because I don't think any parent should give up on their kid. If I don't care if
No.
there's, you know, the kid says, "Don't talk to me anymore." I don't think that you should give up on your kid
No,
ever.
absolutely not. I know I was confused with like my brother's dad. I was like, this is so weird. Like, and then he didn't have like a situation set up because my brothers would go to wherever, whatever couch he was sleeping on at somebody else's house. And I remember we used to go to this guy's house that was like a chain smoker. They would just smoke in the house, and I would just go there, and I would just be like this the whole time with my shirt over my nose. Like, what kind of environment is that? You
Right.
know? But at the same time, like, I know how my brother's dad was raised, and he wasn't raised
Different
on love.
times. Different
So it's
times.
like I kind of get where you're coming from, but at the same time, like, I've made a pretty good life and I had an okay childhood, but there was some trauma. You can either choose to like sit in your shit and
Right.
smell it for the rest of the life, and if you keep sitting there, the shit is not going to smell anymore. So if
Right.
you keep just you just stay in one spot, like, you're just going to stay there forever. And like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. I'm just like, there's no involvement from you. Like, you're not
Right.
trying to make anything right. You're just like, yeah, my parents were like this, so I'm a
Yes.
shit like them, and
No, breaking the
whatever. It's
cycle. They
crazy how
say
people
that.
just sit there in their own shit, you
Yeah.
know?
Or like that's how I was raised. Like that's not an excuse. Why
I
would you
was
want to?
raised one way,
Yeah.
and like, I live a completely different life now. Like, with my children, I've like broken so many things that, you know what I mean? So it's just kind
Yes.
of like,
I feel
I
that.
still don't feel sorry for you at all. There's
No.
no matter what, you're not crippled. Like, you're not in the hospital. Like, there's nothing preventing you from being a good father. Like, it's
Right.
crazy to me that these
Right.
dads don't,
I think that makes us better moms, to be
for
honest,
sure.
because, and that's something that, like, even me and Mike, I always tell him, if there is a day you fall out of love with me, please leave me,
Hmm.
because I would never want my kid to see a household full of hate and we're like,
Like,
F
this
you, F this, like,
damage.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I would rather two households with both love, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I would want you to, if we had soccer, you show up on at
Yeah.
soccer games. If we
Yeah.
have gymnastics, you show up. There's no reason. That's something with me and my trauma is that my stepdad was always there for all of
Yeah,
my
for
water
sure.
polo, my
And you
choir,
guys
my
gave him
singing.
hell too, and he just stuck around. And I think he was the perfect one to combat your guys' little
Oh, because he
attitudes.
was
And
grown.
he'll
He was,
still say something like
yes.
to you guys. So I think he was the perfect
He
one to
was
be
he
there.
was grown up. He grew up in a time of strict ass parents, and I love my grandparents on my stepdad's side. I've learned so much from them, and again, different upbringing, all of that stuff, but at the same time they were very strict, but that's how it was, and I love all of the memories that I have with them.
Yeah.
But it's something that, like, it's crazy because I have more memories with my stepdad's side than I do with my own biological
But
side.
that's cool that you even have
I
those,
know,
like,
because
to
if you
set
think
in.
like on your
Yeah.
side, you don't have that.
Yeah.
Like you only have yours, and you had the best grandparents.
Oh my gosh, they were
I
awesome.
loved
They're
them
so
so
awesome.
much.
Do you remember when Megan and Melinda and Michelle. Do you remember? Well, it wasn't so much Belinda, it was Megan and Michelle.
Yes.
But I remember, I'll never forget.
We were
This is
so
we're
bullied.
gonna trail right now.
We were so
But
bullied.
we used to hang out with these girls all the time, and I remember one time, for some reason, they like turned on us.
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
what we
We used to stay
did.
the night at their house
Yeah, we'd
all the
stay the night.
time.
So we stayed the night one night, and they like were being so mean to us, and they grabbed our toothbrushes
Oh
and they
my
like put them in the
gosh.
toilet.
Yes.
And I was just like, my mom was out of town, her mom was out of town, so we're like, okay, so we like walked down the street with our bags. I like
And
called
their
on their
dad, remember their
on
dad?
their like wall phone. I like called my
Yes.
grandma and grandpa, and I was like, "Can you come pick us up?" And we were down the street. They came all the way from
Yes.
Ontario to Riverside to pick us up. It was so crazy.
I remember.
Oh
And,
my gosh!
and you know, too, because of the old car, like
it
they
was
had
like
like a boat car, and
and they were like, "Here to the rescue!" They came.
they did.
And you know
I
what's
used to
funny?
love going
They
to your
didn't
grandparents' house.
they didn't have a cell phone. They
Mm-mm.
didn't have a MapQuest. I was just like, I'm on this street, and they found it.
They
Maybe a
found it.
Thomas guy. I don't even know how they
Thomas
got there,
guide for
but
sure. I could see your grandpa using one.
I know, just like, all right, keep driving. Well, but yeah, no, man. You know what? I am still talking about that, girls.
Heck
And
yeah, that was
wasn't very
traumatizing.
nice. Okay, that wasn't very nice.
We did hang out
But
with
it's
them after
okay.
that, though.
No, we went to high school.
But I
with
don't
them
think we ever
after,
stayed
so.
the night at their house again.
Never stayed
There was,
ever again.
We were like this weird little group because there was the two sisters who were twins, and then there was the best friend, which was Michelle, and then there was me and you who were best friends.
So it was like a little.
We would always we would fight like we were sisters, like we were all sisters.
But I wish I.
But it was because their dad never.
Megan, Melinda, or Michelle. It wasn't so much Melinda though. She was being nice, but Michelle and Megan, what did we do that day that made you mad? Because
I know, I would like to know.
Leave it below if you are watching this, because I want to know. Because we were sweet little girls. I don't think we did anything.
Oh, we were so innocent.
I think they just maybe turned on us. And see, that's what like makes me scared about like having my kids stay the night places. Like,
oh, my kid would not
do the dumbest.
I think my kid has only stayed the night at your house, and
yeah.
I don't think anybody else is.
Their grandparents.
Well, yeah,
right?
grandma, grandpa is, but no friends.
Same. I can't. Mine have only stayed the night at their grandparents' house. That's it.
Well, I think Em stayed the night at your house because we were in Cabo, but
yeah, at my house. But yeah, little kids can be assholes.
I know. I tell that to my kid now. I'm like, dude, she's in first grade, and I had to give her a talk before she went to first grade, and I'm like, look, kids are tough these days.
Yeah.
You need to have a thick skin, and it sucks to have those kind of conversations.
I can't even imagine with my sweet little Karma. I think Remy's good, but Karma, I'm like,
oh, Remy will just put somebody in a headlock.
Remy will just like attack, but Karma's just kind of like, they hit
I
me.
know.
Like, why? I don't understand. I'm trying to play. He's
yeah,
just, like, so sweet. But yeah, anyway, going back, I feel like one of the things that like not having a dad in my life is like that like I said, was like looking for love in the wrong men. Oh my God. Like I would think like, oh, they love me. Like that's why I think it's so important for fathers to be in their daughters' lives and be like, I'm going to take you on a date. Like those TikToks you see that's like,
I love those.
I'm going to do this so my daughter isn't impressed with your freaking son trying to fly him out, whatever. Like I just think that's so true because yeah, it will mess you up. Like I'm still in therapy because like I'm
which is good. I think anybody needs to do therapy nowadays, especially not dating, but like being in a relationship these days, especially when you have this father figure not present in your life. I feel like you don't have all of the tools that you need to have for like good navigation.
So any moms that have a situation where the father's not present, I would say
I'd love that.
Absolutely, like therapy now, because just what therapy does for you is just give you these tools on how to like, because your story is already written out. I always say that like whatever's going to happen to you is going to happen to you, but you are not strapped with the tools that you need sometimes to combat these issues that are going to come your way. So I always say like therapy to just like, because when I had kids, like, oh my gosh, got married and had kids, it like opened up who I am. It literally filleted me. And I was like, oh, like this about myself. I don't like this. Maybe I feel like this because I was abandoned.
Right.
Like, so you just have to have these tools in your tool belt to like be able to like get through those type of situations. Because I remember I would just like get with dudes that like, I thought was like loved me, but absolutely did not love me. And
no, the dominant just like, showed super dominance.
Yeah, like I can't. That was not a good situation.
Right,
there was that, And I remember, like, a couple of them got kind of bad, but it's like I wouldn't have even put myself in that situation had I had a dad that like
Don't
loved and
be with a
cared
man
about
like
me.
that.
Like, don't,
Yeah.
these are signs that they're like narcissist and like might be abusive or
Right.
like whatever. Like, don't, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I just say therapy because, woo, that'll save you.
Therapy is
Cause
amazing. I did therapy.
yeah,
I was having some anxiety issues. I was having some stress issues, had a panic attack, which I had never had before in my life.
yeah,
And I feel like therapy was just something like, why am I feeling like this? Why is
yeah,
this? Why is that? And I feel like as I get older, I get frustrated with my biological dad because I'm like, I'm able to like invite me. I can drive myself. I don't need my mom
yeah,
anymore to take me. I
yeah,
don't need you to pick me up. I can
yeah,
go. Ask me and I will be there. So I think that's frustrating
yeah.
to me. But at the same time, I
But how do you make somebody like,
exactly,
hey,
you don't.
can you invite me next time to your house? And it's like, what if they're like, oh, okay. And it's
I
like,
will
well, I don't
tell
want to
you
be a
this.
burden.
I
And
will tell you this, and this is the crazy part. I feel more comfortable telling one of my closest friends, like, hey, I would love to do something like that. The next time you go, can you please invite
yeah,
me? I
exactly.
feel 100% more comfortable to do that
Then with
than to
your
tell
dad.
him, like, hey, why wasn't I invited for the past 16 years to
I know, because like,
Christmas,
what
Thanksgiving?
possible answer do you have to say?
No.
Because I feel like people like that will just be like, well, I wasn't sure if you would want me to.
And
And
I
it's
think
just
that's
like
a
lame
horrible
excuses like
cop
that.
out. It's
Yeah,
a horrible cop out.
like
Or you
so
didn't call me and ask me. What?
for
It's
instance,
your house. It's
yeah,
your situation. You're the father. I am the
like
child.
you take initiative because you're older and you should be wiser. You
Yes.
like I texted you the other day, my step I don't even know if he's my stepdad at this point, my brother's dad, because they're my mom and him are
I
divorced,
he didn't really
obviously.
have like a hand in raising you.
Not at
I
all.
don't
So I don't
think
even know what
so.
to call him. It's so confusing. But
Yeah.
anyway, but it's so weird because like in high school I had his last name and then I dropped that and went back to my maiden name and then it's just all these things. Like it's
Right.
crazy. But I had text him the other day like happy birthday and I did like a little like gif and then I scrolled up and it said the same day the year
That was
before.
the last time
And
you
I
speak
was
to him.
just like, dang, I haven't talked to this person
In a
for
year.
one whole 365 days. I mean, I've seen him at like birthday parties and stuff like
But it's
that.
not the same.
But
It's
yeah,
not the
I'm like,
same.
I literally, and then I started to get pissed. And
Yeah.
I text my brothers because he wasn't saying anything back. And I was like, do I have the wrong number
Right.
like for this man? And they're like, no, you have the right number. Like, he doesn't answer my calls anyway. And I'm just like, so his own blood, he doesn't answer calls. Like,
So
why am I
he
expecting
doesn't have
him?
a real relationship with your brothers
Not
anymore,
at all.
which is
I
wild.
mean, he took off.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't blame them for not having a
Yeah.
relationship with him, you know? So, yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, like you ignore your own kids. Like I got no shot
Right.
here. Not that I
Exactly.
care anymore because like go live your
Just
fucking best life.
ask,
But the funny thing is, he's with a girl right now that is my age,
which
taking
is
care
so
of her
crazy.
kids. And
Yes.
I'm just like, you're taking care of her kids, but you didn't take care of us, and you
Right.
still don't take care of us. You
Yes.
still don't check in. Like, I don't really like I appreciate the gift for my kids at Christmas, but like you should probably save your money and like, like
Yes.
maybe you need it in other places for your own family. Like my family's doing just fine. It's just weird. Like I'd rather have you in our lives than
Yes.
like a
Then a
gift or
gift
a
for a
teddy
one
bear or
gift,
like
one gift
a money.
a
Like I don't,
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I'd rather just have you like my kids don't have a grandpa except for Mike's dad.
Yeah.
And that's their
And
grandpa.
you know what?
Like
He's
he
an
doesn't,
amazing grandpa.
yeah, he's a
I think
wonderful,
he is
yeah,
literally 10 grandpas because
yeah.
of the amount of like show up that he does.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Him and
important.
his wife,
Yes.
who is Mike's stepmom, they show up for us and they aren't even blood to me.
Right.
Sharon is not blood to my kids, but
She shows up.
she
She's
shows up like
amazing.
she is. She's the best. He's the best. So it's like, that's where it's like, you really have to hone in on the people that like want to be in your life.
Right. I
And those
agree
people want to
100%.
be in my life. So guess what? Like when I'm old and gray, I'm going to be taking care of those people.
Yes.
Like I will take care of them
The people who
for the
showed up
rest of
for
their
you.
lives.
For you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Like not blood, not, like those are the people. Like I'm sure you have people in your life like Scott and your mom and like people like that Scott has been showing up since you were a
Oh,
baby,
for sure.
like
He's like, if I
that's
was
your
to get
dad,
married, he would be somebody who he would walk me down the
for
aisle
sure,
because he is
100%.
like, regardless of how I was as a kid and how he had to scold me or whatever it may be, he was literally my father figure.
Yeah,
He was the
for
one
sure.
who
He was
disciplined
there.
me and gave me advice and taught me things,
Yeah.
all of those things. So
Yeah, For
I
sure.
definitely want to ask you guys as our audience, what do you think is actually worse? Somebody who has a present father who's not very present, or someone like Mel who does not know
Doesn't
who
have
their
one at
father is
all.
at all?
Which is
um,
worse?
yeah,
Let us
we
know
would
down
definitely
below.
like to hear from you guys, and especially chime in on your experiences and everything that you have going on. But thank you so much for listening to our second half of our crazy life. We got to go because our squadron of kids out
As
there are
you can
running
hear,
amok.
pounding on the door.
But we thank you
But
guys so much. We love you, and we hope this resonates with you guys. And if you please, please, please leave comments, shoot into the DM, and we'll be back with another series sometime soon.
yeah, and one thing I want to say to everybody listening that is going through somebody that's abandoned them and you have a child. I have a couple friends that have that situation going on. You don't have a father. Always just seek therapy. I think that that's a number one tool. And also know that you can just change your reality. You really can. Like, I feel like sometimes when I feel like I haven't like achieved my dreams, like I sit back and I'm like, my husband and I have a house. We're
Yes.
married. We have two beautiful children. We started our own business. He works full time. I work full time.
You
Like,
blessings,
we
blessings,
have
blessings,
everything. Like, you
blessings.
have to sit and just be like, this is what I have right now. I'm alive. I'm going to make the best of it and make your own reality
Yes.
and make it great and make it fun.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I
and get some therapy in the
cheers to that.
in the
Cheers
meantime.
to that.
Cheers. But everybody, you guys have a great night.
We love you guys. Peace out. We'll
Peace
see
out.
you on the next one.